Good morning, good morning. Welcome to the KetoMom page. My name is Stephanie, and we are diving into Chazown. Now, real quick, as you're tuning in, where are you tuning in from? I'm tuning in from Minnesota. It's a little bit later in the morning. My whole family is sleeping. I don't think anybody slept very well last night, even my husband. He had a super restless night, so I'm keeping all of them sleeping. It's Friday. We homeschool. We'll get everything done. But it's super quiet and peaceful in this house. And I just got off the phone with my sister. It's been a super peaceful morning. And what I want you to know is every morning, our hope is to come on here to just help you on your mindset, right? Just understanding the power of your mindset, the power of how you think, creates how you feel, creates an action, and ultimately creates the results that you are wanting or not wanting, right? So as you're tuning in, why don't you share one thing below that you're thankful for? A thankful heart creates an emotion, which therefore creates an action, which therefore either gets you closer to your goals of the results that you want or further away, right? So if you understand, as I think, so I feel, as I feel, so I do, as I do, so I have, you understand the power of starting your day off with being mindful, being grateful, reading even just one page or listening to a podcast of somebody who you look up to. It is so important because ultimately you're going to go throughout your morning and you might find that you have more peace, or you might find that you've got more patience for people at work or at home, right? You make better choices. And so good morning, good morning. So we've been going through this book, and the point is to help you understand your purpose, what you're called to do, right? This isn't just about fat loss. If you want recipes or anything that has to do with keto, anything, I want you to go to ketomomsecrets.com. ketomomsecrets.com has everything you need to know to get started on your health journey, and you can message me and I'll help you. In the mornings, we talk about this. Yesterday, so we've been talking about Chazown. That is going after and figuring out what your purpose truly is. Why were you created? What are you called to do? Yes, you all have a purpose and a plan, right? Understanding the power of your mindset. And so it gives you an idea of the spokes. Like think about your life, and it has it's like a tire, right? And each spoke represents something different. So yesterday we talked about your spiritual spoke, your relationship with God. Today, this spoke is on your relationships with people. And if you understand the power of, I'm going to show you something. If you understand how your life isn't just about fat loss, like I want to show you this little spoke right here. See? So if you understand that oftentimes people will feel like nothing is working, or why am I not getting ahead? Or I'll say, look at the different areas in your life and let's figure out which spoke might be broken or which spoke needs a little bit more attention. So yesterday we talked about your spiritual spoke. Today it's about your relationships. Tomorrow it's about finances. The next day it's about health. The next day it's about your work spoke. And if you pay attention to those spokes, in understanding that all of these play a part in your health or the decisions that you make, how you feel, you will probably be more intentional of looking at your whole life and not just the scale, right? So I'm going to give you a couple things to think about on your relationship spoke today, because that actually plays a part even in your health. You might be going, why? It's super important. If you don't have great relationships around you, you become like the top 5 people that you are around. If you don't have a mentor, if you're around people that don't make great choices, whether it's friends, coworkers, you often might slip to maybe their choices, right? It could be food choices. It could be how you treat people. There's so many different things. So I'm not going to read all the stories. A lot of the things that he wrote are story driven, but he says, where there is no vision for your relationships with people, those relationships will wither and perish. Your relationships are super important. I was just talking to my sister on the phone for like an hour this morning I was like, I have to go do a live, but my relationship with my sister is important. So we just talk. She lives in Ohio. And if you're not intentional, if you're not mindful, if you don't even realize how powerful relationships are in your life, they either will be severed and wrecked, or they could even ruin your life. It's super important. So he basically just says this: God doesn't want you to do life alone. He wants you to understand there's power in relationships. There's power in a team. And so he says, if you just take a look and you understand that relationships need to be intentional, you probably already know if there's a relationship somewhere in your life that's affecting how you feel. It could be with a spouse. It could be with kids. It could be with a coworker. And sometimes he's going to talk about how you need to be the bigger person. There needs to be communication. There needs to be, if something needs to be fixed, it might have to come from you, because it's going to play a huge part in your call and your purpose. And so he asks you a couple questions. He says, which relationships in your life need to be nurtured? Probably with your spouse, with your kids, maybe a parent or a sibling. Well, I haven't talked to them in years. It's time to talk to them, right? The reason our important relationships go south is because we fail to purposely nurture our relationships. So going on a date with your spouse, spending extra time with your kids. He says, how do we nurture relationships? We serve one another. You serve each other. Every relationship ends up somewhere, but few relationships end up somewhere on purpose. So I'm going to guess I don't have to say a lot of these things. You probably have people in your life that you are super thankful for, that are great, and ones that you wish could be better. So this plays a part in where you're going in life. If you have bitterness and anger, it's going to affect the decisions that you make, whether you like it or not. He says, which relationships need to be restored? So just as you're walking through your relationships in your mind, he also asked the question of, I'm just kind of flipping through the relationship part, which relationships need to be served? He says, I'm talking about just served. I read the wrong word, severed. So he says, which relationships need to be nurtured? Which relationships do you really need to, what did I just say? Good grief, I'm all over the place. This is kind of a long chapter, but so many stories. I'm not going to read the stories to you. You guys, the book is incredible. Restored. So nurtured, restored, and then which relationships in your life need to be severed. And he talks about how you might have a business partner that lacks integrity. You might have a friend who drains you spiritually. You might have buddies who trash talk their wives. Like, there's so many things that if you just look at the people that are around you, it affects where you're going. It affects even your own personal goals, because whether it's a relationship that needs to be nurtured or restored, bitterness and anger can hold on to you and where you're at as a person. I've got people waking up. So here's just what I want you to understand. In your life, in your spokes, as you look at your wheel of your life, and I said this before, but if you just basically look at this wheel and you rate yourself from 1 to 10, like, where am I at and where could I be better? If you drew this out for yourself today and you rated yourself right here. And if you rated yourself from 1 to 10 on your spiritual, your relationships, your finances, your health, and your work, and maybe you're thinking today, you're sitting there and you're going, I'm not where I want to be. Maybe you're not happy. Maybe you don't have joy or peace or whatever the case may be. My challenge to you is draw this out. Do the work. Figure out where you need to work in each of these spokes. It could be one day at a time, right? So spiritual spoke we talked about. If you don't have inner peace, if you've not stepped foot in a church, if you don't have great mentors, and that even goes right along with the relationship spoke, your people spoke. Like, where are you holding bitterness and anger? Because all of these things, like it or not, I could say it as simple as this, could be the reason that you're overeating. I know it sounds so dumb, but oftentimes people will blame, shame, justify people, environments, their past, their lack of peace, their lack of joy, and they turn to food. And I'll say, hey, have you ever thought about fixing that relationship? Have you ever thought about just reaching out? And while it might not have been your fault, it's completely one of your responsibilities is to take that bitterness and anger off of you so that you can truly focus on where you're going. Bitterness and anger, severed relationships, not having your own inner peace, they're like weights in your life. And if you've got a bunch of weights, how in the world are you going to move forward? So I love this book because it gives you an outlook on your entire life of where do I need to be intentional? Where should I be focusing? What should I be working on? Not to get overwhelmed with all of these different spokes, but to go, okay, I'm an 8 in this area. I'm a 4 in this area. What's one step I could do to make it better? That's it. It's all in awareness, right? So my encouragement to you is to do the work. Write it down, be mindful, think about maybe a relationship today that you could restore, that you could mend. Maybe you need some mentors to help you in your marriage. Maybe you need to find a mentor that you're like, man, that person's an incredible parent. I need help in the parenting area. Or maybe it's a relationship that needs to be done because you are like the 5 people you hang around with and you need to find new friends, whether it's watching people online until you find physical friends, joining a different organization, joining a different group that you really are like, I would love to do that as a hobby, and you're going to find like-minded people. Super important. So that is what we're going through. That was today. Tomorrow we'll go through, what's tomorrow, Saturday? Oh, I'm going to another women's event tomorrow. It's out of town. It's called Sparkle. So I won't be on tomorrow. I'll be on sometime tomorrow, but not in the morning. We have to leave super early. I'm taking my oldest daughters and my mom and my mother-in-law. And we are going to go learn from, who of you were on here? I think we went through the book in September, August or September. It was called Dream It, Live It, Pin It, or Dream It, Pin It, Live It, or something. It was a book about dream boards. Her name is Terry Savelle. I think that's it. We're going to go listen to her speak. So she's coming to a town that's close to us, an hour away. And so we read the book here on the page. We talked about dream boards. We talked about vision. We talked about where you're going. And so we're going to go, she's coming. So we're going to go listen to her speak. I'm super excited. I'll share more tomorrow after I'm done listening to her. I love to go to women's events. I love to be around other women that are striving for better, that are purposeful, that are living life on purpose. And so I'm taking our 2 oldest daughters and my mom and my mother-in-law and my friend Jolene, and we're all going. It's going to be so fun. So I'll share more about that tomorrow. Otherwise, we'll continue continue the book on Monday, but I will be doing more lives about food and ketones and all of the things you like to learn about. So I hope you have an incredible Friday if you're watching live. Live life on purpose. Think about the things that need to be restored. Think about the things that need to be have intention about, and think about some things that might need to be severed. You have a purpose. God has a plan for you. You just have to make and be intentional, make those steps every single day towards that. So I'm here to help. I hope you guys have an incredible morning. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll talk to you later.